Hello, Algebra 2 students. It's Miss Barrett, and I just didn't really feel great about not going over as many homework problems as I wanted to. Also about not getting through all the notes. Just there's a lot going on. So I just wanted to make two videos. The first one here right now is going to be just covering factoring. Just slower examples so that you can come back and watch if you are finding yourself confused again. First one I chose is from your homework. This is the factoring worksheet. This is number 58. To clarify, you did not have to do this because we did odds at the end, but this is a great example because of the fact that it's a quartic, which means that the degree of my problem is actually 4. Guys, we're going to treat this like a quadratic. A quadratic has degree 2, and that's what you're used to factoring already. So we're going to start this the same way we would start a traditional factoring problem. This has a leading coefficient, so we want to make sure that we multiply the first times the last number. And when we do that, we will see that we want to find two numbers that are going to multiply to equal 3 times 5, which is 15. So let's think of some numbers that multiply to 15. 1 and 15. 2 doesn't go into 15, but 3 does. 3 times 5. Nothing else goes into 15. Now, the second part is this middle term, okay? We want two numbers that actually add to 14. Well, 3 and 5 will not add to 14, but 1 and 15 will. And in order to get 14, we'll need -1 and 15. Excellent. So, what we're going to do next is we are going to take my original part, my original problem, and we are going to split the middle up. And I'm going to kind of do this over here. I'm going to write out the original problem again. And I am actually going to take the middle term and split it up using the two numbers that I just found. Now, usually we would put a 1x and a 15x, but the only difference here is that we're just going to do x squared, because my middle term is an x squared. And we still drop down my first and my last. Guys, now it's just factoring by grouping. And we can do that, hopefully, somewhat quickly. So in this green group, the only thing that there's in common is an x squared. So I'm going to pull out an x squared, and I'm left with 3. I had 4 x's originally, and I took out 2, so I have 2 left over. 3x squared minus 1. Blue group, the blue group I have a GCF of 5. And 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3x squared. -5 divided by 5 is -1. And my groups match, which is awesome. So I can write out my final answer. Write out your matching group, 3x squared minus 1, and write out the outsides, x squared plus 5. Guys, I'm done. So it's the same process that we have learned in Algebra 1. The only difference is that my answer actually has some x squareds. Let's move on and talk about the sum and difference of cubes. So this is the sum of two cubes. And it's sum because we have an addition sign, okay? It's in the form a cubed plus b cubed. So my first task is going to be to find my a and find my b. In order to do that, we cube root. So cube root x cubed. The cube root of x cubed is just x. Cube root the number 125. The cube root of 125 is just 5. So x is a, 5 is b. The next part about this type of problem is just memorizing the formula. Now, I've talked to some other 317 teachers, and it sounds like the biggest issue we have is memorizing the trinomial part of this. the first part of this formula is a plus b. The second part is a squared minus ab plus b squared. So remember the SOAP formula. The SOAP formula tells me the signs. Same, opposite, always positive. I could also do a different little acronym, SOPs. And that just means the square, the opposite product, and the square again. So SOPs is square, because we square the A. It's the opposite product, which means negative. And then the B squared, so it's squared again. It's two little acronyms to help us memorize this formula. Now I know that my A is x, my b is 5, and I'm just plugging into my formula. So I have x plus 5. And then I have x squared minus a times b, so that's 5 times x, plus 5 squared, which is 25. And I'm done. And we'll move on to our next one. A little bit harder. Last, definitely not least, well, right away I know that I can't cube root of 4. So I'm kind of in trouble. But what I forgot to do was take out a GCF. Always start with your GCF. Now, if you divide 500 by 4, you get 125. Which is good news because that is a cube. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we have 1n cubed, which is awesome also. Now I'm going to try to keep factoring this part, and that is the difference of two cubes. It's in the form a cubed minus b cubed. Okay, and so again, we want to use our formula. Our formula for this one, just a tiny bit different than the sums, is going to be a minus b, same. Okay, then we have square, opposite product, and square again. So let's just figure out my a, figure out my b, and we'll plug and chug. For a, let's take our first term and cube root it. Cube root of 125 is 5. Cube root of m cubed is just m. That's a. Okay, and for b, the cube root of n cubed is just n. So that's your b. Now we just plug and we chug. So a is 5m, b is n. So I have 5m minus n. Now, a squared, I'm just going to do this on the side, is 5m squared. So we square the 5 and the m, which is 25m squared. Now we multiply my two terms together. So that's 5mn, and then b squared. So b squared is just n squared. And I'm done. Hopefully this helps you guys kind of come to terms with some of this stuff. Alrighty, we'll see you later. Bye.